Alright, so I've been trying to make this video all morning and it's just been one problem after another. Hopefully this last take is it. My name is Greg Byerly. I am a professional photographer, and today we are going to talk about whether or not it's worth upgrading to the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. Now, I've been so excited about this camera coming out and mixed feelings whether or not I was going to upgrade or not. And you'll find out at the end of the video if I will. But in the meantime, I've been using Canon products for most of my life. 30 years of doing photography, and I love them. I've used several other cameras. I've used the Fuji systems, the Sony systems, the Nikon systems, and various other little things that I'll toy around with. But my main camera right now is the Canon R5. When Canon first jumped on the scene with their mirrorless lineup and the EOS R came out, I bought one. I have right here, EOS R. Alright. And on there is the 35mm 1.8, which I never use anymore. But they do have a new 35mm 1.4 that I am going to probably check out. I was hoping that they'd come out with a 1.2 because most of my prime lenses are 1.2, but that's for another video. So, the EOS R5 Mark II. On my computer here, I have lots of videos lined up with everybody that's got that camera, that's reviewed it, got their hands on it, really put it through the test as much as Canon will let you. Even Peter McKinnon, who is a Canon rep, didn't get to really delve deep into it as much as I would have liked. But he did make a couple of videos that were pretty awesome. So, what is the big deal about the R5 Mark II? Well, I have the R5 right here. Mine's outfitted with a small rig custom cage. Unfortunately, you can't buy because this one was made because I have the battery grip, and they decided not to put that into production. But luckily, they sold me their test thing. Really nice. I also have the Chonky Chonk 28 to 70 on here, and I love this camera. The Canon R5, even though it's going on 5 years old, I believe, is still relevant. I mean, Jared Polin still has all R5s in the studio, although he said he's going to put R5 Mark IIs in the studio, and he can afford to do that. Whether or not I think that's smart, for streaming some of these videos, probably not, but whatever. What's the big deal? Well, the autofocus, for one. I mean, the autofocus in the R5 has been tremendous. It's awesome. Nothing wrong with it. I shoot everything from wildlife, landscapes, portraits, and everything in between. I shoot it all. I've put my R5 through the paces, and I've really discovered the flaws in the R5 and where it can improve. The autofocus, when you compare it to, say, a Nikon Z8 or Z9 or the Sony A1, it's going to be a little bit behind them because it's an older camera. But it still hangs really, really well. And I can't really emphasize that enough. The R5 can hang with any modern camera. Excuse my stuttering today. But it's got a bigger eyepiece now, so the standard eye cup and stuff is bigger. The screens are brighter. The top-down menu's a little different. The overall camera ultimately is about the same. The guts inside are different. It does have the 45 megapixel sensor, but it's now a stack sensor, so the readout's going to be a lot faster. It's going to be able to do more things processing power wise than the Mark 1 can. It's got some upgrades as far as the instead of a mini HDMI, it's got a full size. It's got some fans built in because you'll remember the 8K video tended to want to overheat in a very short period of time. Now, where I live, that would probably be a problem because I live in Florida and it's pretty hot here, but I don't shoot in 8K. I'm a photographer primarily. The video stuff, I mean, I'm not even shooting video with my mirrorless cameras anyway. I'm shooting off of a little Mevo camera from Logitech. So as far as the video stuff concerns, it doesn't affect me, but I could see if you are a hybrid shooter and you want the best of the best, you know, the overheating problem could be an issue. They pretty much solved that in the R5 with some firmware updates, but the new one kind of promises, now that there's ventilation and stuff in there, that they won't have that problem. And they also have a new battery grip that has fans built into that will push air through the camera, all while keeping it somehow weatherproof, or weather sealed. I don't really know how that works, but it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is the R5 Mark 1 was and is an amazing camera. I use it every single day. If I go to the zoo and take pictures of wild animals, I grab my R5, even though the way I have it set up, it's pretty big and cumbersome. But when you throw an 800 millimeter lens on the front of it, it's big and cumbersome no matter what. So that's not really an issue. If you're walking around doing street photography, you probably wouldn't want the same setup that I got. Would the R5 Mark II be a better suit for that? No. Because ultimately, you're not going to need the speed that it has. It is a very quick camera. The new one shoots 30 frames a second. In normal mechanical, it's about the same as the R5. The autofocusing now has better subject detection. It could you could program people's faces into it, and so it'll do priority to specific people. Better sports tracking, so if you're out doing a soccer game or something, it knows what's a ball and what's a head. Definitely, I mean, it's got some upgrades that make the R5 Mark 1 look like a dinosaur, but not compared to every other camera out there. So like if I compare my R5 Mark 1 to any other camera that just came out, it still holds its own. So is it worth the $4,300 that it's going to cost to get a new body? And that's the golden question. And I can't make that choice for you. I can just make it for myself. I did watch a YouTuber today that I won't use his name or anything. Super nice guy. I have followed him for a while. He's still a small creator in the bigger sense, but he seemed like he was a loyal Canon user. And because they raised the price $300 and there's some minute specs, he's going to trade off and go to another system, a Nikon, but an older Nikon. So he's going to, instead of buying the over $300, instead of buying the newest Canon, which he has all the lenses for and everything, he's going to switch systems, which inevitably, I don't know if he's thought it out very well, but now he has to buy all these other lenses for his new camera. All because the prices are raised and it didn't have specs that were blow you out the door specs. Now, if I have the money, if I have the extra money, I will buy an R5 Mark II, and then my R5 will become my secondary body. Right now, my R5 is my main camera, and my EOS R is my secondary camera. And I would sell the EOS R or give it to my son or my wife and go from there. I love the Canon system. I think their menu systems are hands down the best in the industry. And I think that the ergonomics of the bodies just feel right in my hands. Plus, I have the comfort of knowing that I've used them for so long. Having said that, I really don't think I need to upgrade yet. And here's why. The camera bodies will get updated on a regular basis. They will literally come out with a new feature here and there, and every couple of years you'll get a new camera body, or in some cases like like Sony and stuff, they'll release a new body every 6 months, it seems. But Canon's a little more reserved. They wait usually a couple of years before their more flagship stuff. And the R5, it's questionable if it's a flagship or not. For me, it's a flagship camera. It checks all my boxes. The R1 that came out doesn't have the resolution that the R5 has, and so that box didn't get checked, and the other boxes that would check in other people's world just didn't ring true for me. So I am definitely more on R5 team, but the R5 Mark II doesn't have enough for me to think, okay, today I'm going to shell out another $4,300. It has nothing to do with the features. It has nothing to do with Canon. It has nothing to do with the competing products that are out there. It solely has to do with, I would rather invest that money into lenses. And which is what I've been doing. I have most of the RF lineup from the 200 to 800. I have the 85-1.2, the 51.2, the 28 to 70, the 24 to 70, the 70 to 200, the 35-1.8, and a few others that I'm not really thinking about. But there's lenses I'd love to have. There's even EF lenses that I wanted for so many years that I could adapt over that I would love. Is it worth ditching the R5 Mark I because the R5 Mark II raised the price slightly, or didn't come out with some new revolutionary thing that checked everybody's box? No, I'm still going to use my R5 as if I just bought it yesterday. And I would recommend most people do that with most camera systems. The camera body doesn't mean as much as the lenses that are projecting that image into that body. 45 megapixels is awesome. If they would have did a 100 megapixel version of the R5, maybe, when you're doing that wildlife stuff and that bird is way off in the distance, that gives you the ability to crop. A lot cheaper to have a body that can, crop down because you have more megapixels than, say, buy a $16,000 to $20,000 lens that will get you there. There are reasons for upgrading, but as of today, if I have an extra $4,300 lying around, I'm probably going to find a lens that just really makes me feel excited. And if that isn't enough to buy that lens, it'll at least get me closer to buying that lens. Like I said, there's some lenses that are, above $10,000 that I would love to have. I haven't purchased those yet either because, frankly, in today's economy, I can't afford to do that. I can't afford to just buy every new camera body that comes about, and unfortunately I'm not a Canon ambassador, so they're not sending me every body and every lens that I'd like. So in the meantime, I'm just going to shoot. I'm going to shoot some great pictures, and I'm going to keep my R5 Mark I. Is the Mark II amazing? Hell yeah, it looks amazing. Some of the specs I wish I had in my body today, but they're not enough for me to just go out and go into the poorhouse, sell something like my motorcycle so I could have the newest camera body. It just doesn't make sense. that pays my mortgage for a couple months. But if I was in the market for a new camera, if I look at every camera that's in that price range, I think the Canon R5 Mark II does it. It does the trick for new photographers. It gets you like, right up there with the best. If you're one of the best photographers, it's going to keep you satisfied. If you broke your camera or something and you needed to replace it, yeah, I would get the R5 Mark II. If you have an R5, don't run out and get yourself in the poorhouse just to be keeping up with the Joneses. It's not that big of an upgrade. But if you're in the market for a camera, I think, from what it sounds like, from everything I've seen online, the R5 Mark II checks almost all the boxes, and it would be a fine camera for many years to come. So anyway, my name is Greg Byerly. I just wanted to tell you guys that, don't believe the hype, don't go out there and just purchase just for the sake of purchasing. If you're like the other gentleman that is going to switch gears because the price has changed, he's got a sad reality because now he has to purchase all new lenses. The R5 lenses aren't going to work on a Nikon system. So he actually, by not wanting to spend the extra $300, he's actually going to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars more because he has to rebuild his lens lineup. And that's pretty sad. I do believe in a little bit of brand loyalty. If they do you well, stick with them. If there's not such a big increase, why switch brands? I tried that once. I got a Sony, and everybody was talking about Sony. I used it for about a day, and I was like, this isn't for me. I didn't like the menu system. I didn't like the way it felt in my hand. And I loved Canon. I gotta say, maybe I'm a fanboy, but I loved it. But I'm not so much of a fanboy that I'm going to rush out and buy the latest gear just because it came out. I didn't buy the R3 when it came out. I bought the R5 instead of the R6 when it came out, even though I would have saved a lot of money buying the R6. But then shortly afterwards, they came out with the R6 Mark II with some real upgrades. And if you were an R6 user, definitely getting the Mark II would have been great. But in the case of the R5, I don't think you throw out the baby with the bathwater. I don't think it's time to switch just for the sake of switching. I do believe the R5 as it sits today can hang with most any camera, and I do believe that the R5 Mark II is probably the only camera that would actually take it out, and you would kind of be bummed. If you had them both in your hand, you'd definitely gravitate towards the R5 Mark II. But I haven't touched the R5 Mark II, so it's just speculation. And the R5 works great. So I'm going to keep using the R5 until I either win the lottery or I have to upgrade because there's something wrong with the camera that I have now. All right, guys, that's it. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Check out all the specs online. Canon is killing it right now. I think their stuff is awesome. And I think that $4,300 sounds like a lot of money to a lot of people, but I actually spent more than that on my R5 because it was sold out everywhere, and so I had to buy it through a third party. Price isn't the deterrent here. It's just really, do I need to spend the money when I have a camera that works fantastic? And the answer is not right now. But it may happen soon. Peace.